Second video about resilience. The quote of today is resilience is a decision. Last time it was everything is your fault with the explanation. Now is resilience is a decision. And let me tell you, it's not an easy decision, right? But it's all in the mind, and we're trying to give you concept and handles to steer your thoughts, to steer your mind into a no compromise mindset. Being resilient to whatever life throws at you. And last time we talked about the 6 pillars of health, right? The 6 pillars: nutrition, training, work, social media contacts, sleep, and resilience. In the big picture, you are a DJ playing around with the 6 pillars, and you want all the 6 pillars to be as high leveled as possible, of course. By developing all pillars, you let's say you influence the other pillars. So that means nutrition is attached to training, training is attached to sleep, sleep is attached to resilience, and so on. Resilience is the 6th one. You can train that as a standalone concept, but also by becoming better in the first 5, you will be becoming more resilient. And more about that concept in this video. So, 6 pillars, we call them 6 pillars of health, 6 pillars of personal leadership. And the first thing in the news, what wonders me, is when you talk about leadership and personal leadership, that in relation to resilience is if there is a crisis and leaders are the first ones to drop, what tells you that about the overall resilience of a leader, or overall resilience of a society, when in a way everybody's clapping on the sideline how well the leaders did? Sounds maybe a little harsh, but I want to make a parallel with special forces, right? I worked a lot of years with elite special forces teams all around the world, also in Holland with the Dutch SWAT teams. Every SWAT team has a leader, of course, but in a way all people working in a team is a leader by itself. And what I've seen there is that you can never imagine how many hours those guys work a day. They don't talk about 10-hour shifts or 14-hour shifts. They talking about getting the job done, right? And getting the job done mentality is totally different than thinking how many hours I worked, right? If all hell breaks loose, they are the ones to call, right? If there is a terrorist attack or any drug-related or whatever crime with firearms, then we're going to call them. If their leaders drop when there is a crisis, then those teams couldn't function, right? So I think the overall perception of personal leadership and leadership in general, we could be a little more confrontating with that concept, okay? But more about that. So personal leadership in relation to what is leadership, I think we can be more resilient and a little bit more hard in leadership in overall. We want to work on a no compromise mindset, and I want to quote Aristotle, because he said, the start of all wisdom is knowing yourself, right? So I put down, who am I in relation to personal leadership and resilience? Because when you know how you will react in a violent situation, in an ambush situation, in a corona crisis situation, if you know up front who you are, how you react to crisis, and how you're dealing with stuff, that could help you a lot in preparing for crisis, but also get you through a crisis. Okay? So, who am I? Normally I would say this is the starting point of resilience training for us. And the starting point of resilience training for us is always physical and mental connection, right? So, who am I? Physical and mental challenge there. How to do that? Start with training and nutrition. Why? Because that tells you a lot about yourself. I always ask people in normal times, did you ever pass out during a training? Or did you ever push yourself so hard that you passed out? Like 90% says no. And then we say, well, then you didn't push yourself hard enough yet. And you really don't know your boundaries of your own body yet. So discovering your own body, discovering your gene set, what can I do and what can't I do, is a very important one in discovering who you are overall and being resilient. Because if you know what you cannot do, you are resilient working around that principles, right? So in normal times, I would give the advice to, let's try to push yourself that hard in training that you pass out or almost pass out. Sounds hard, but it really works. But do that with a good coach, of course, and not by being stupid. For now, in relation to crisis, is this the time to do that now? No, because training, being resilient now, should be fitness and general health. So maybe tune down the intensity of your workouts. Just work on basic strength and conditioning. And then after the crisis, then you can push yourself that hard in seeing where your limits are, right? But as from now, I wouldn't suggest that now, because you just want to get that immune system up as high level as possible at this point, and very, very, very intense workout might not fit that goal at this point. Also about nutrition. This morning I was driving to O20 and there was a quote on that the crisis we're in now, the virus is very related to chronic disease, right? Obese and other chronic diseases. And those are attached to lifestyle choices. And I don't want to offend anybody, but the Radio 1, there was a dietitian on the program saying, okay, so a healthy lifestyle really helps you to be resilient in these kinds of times. But don't go into a panic diet now, because it takes a long time to adjust the lifestyle and to actually getting more resilient or working towards another lifestyle. Then we think, and I think, well, maybe today is the day to start if you didn't start yesterday, right? So according to diet, being resilient is make hard choices right now. Stop smoking, make sure you have a healthy diet, and we give you information through our social media channels right now at this point. But also a very hard decision now, because we don't call it a panic diet, we call it a hard reset at this point then. And you should all do that if you not have your shit together, is start with a 36-hour fasting diet. Don't eat for 36 hours, just drink water, that's it. That will hit your immune system, press the button, and from there build your healthy diet up. So no panic diet, but today is the day to make a decision in who you are, how resilient are you in your training, in your nutrition, and how are you dealing with that, right? And like I said in the beginning, resilience is a decision, and it's all about perception. What is leadership is perception. What is being resilient is in perception. I and we as a team are often called very hard, right? But 10 years, we have O20 now, almost 10 years, and I think we do care more about the general health and making people resilient more than the people themselves, right? So we like to call it resentless empathy we have, right? We want you to be healthy. We want you to be resilient. And we want to help you to start being resilient against all the traps of life. That doesn't mean you cannot enjoy life and to have your beer once in a while, but in general, no smoking, no drugs or pills in the weekend. Get your shit together on nutrition and start with training and nutrition. More later.